overdress?
No, I don't think there is.
There's underdress. Obviously.
There's definitely underdressed. Right. Anytime I see someone who's looking dapper and has put a lot of work into it, I feel good about that. That means that they care.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not dressed up that much, I feel good about that.
Even if the shelving position, if you come in suit, tie, whatever, it just shows you care.
Yeah. That whole idea of be overdressed instead of underdressed.
I don't think you have to
Yeah,
wear a suit.
flip-flops and leggings, no.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
And even if it's for an internship or a volunteer or something, these are the impressions you're making. We had a possible intern show up in flip-flops and shorts, and it was no, because you obviously didn't.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen anybody that's overdressed. We did have a student assistant undergraduate position show up in a suit and tie. I thought he looked really sharp. So, I mean, I would, if it was between that person and the person in flip flops, even with the experience, I'd probably go with the more, because we do, especially in the library, especially with students, I see too many people that want to come in with the tank top, and they don't see any problem with that. So I feel like it's kind of our duty to tell them that's not appropriate.
Well, and I would say with academic jobs, your interview is a whole day.
Right.
You are going to be there from maybe 7:30 in the morning till 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night. Make sure you have shoes that you can walk in.
And you may want to have a couple of granola bars in your bag because you're going to have 3 meals, but you may not get to talk.
Right.
Or you may not get to eat.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
All right. How do you brag about your accomplishments without sounding arrogant?
Oh, I was gonna say, I assume that the reason you're here is to brag on yourself in some ways. That's what you're sitting here to make an argument, and you have one opportunity to talk to me and impress me. So I'm not worried about people over bragging. I would be more concerned about people. I don't want to say it's not an issue of overselling. It's overstretching what it is you've actually done.
Mm-hmm.
Be honest. If this is what you've done, this is what you've done. But you do need to speak up for yourself because no one else is going to speak up for you.
Absolutely. Confidence is important, and put it out there. This is your chance to make that argument. I don't worry too much about arrogance. I mean, don't sound condescending or probably over-representing, like I've got all this experience and then that means you've taught 2 classes or, something like that. But yeah, it's your chance.
When I interviewed for my current job, somebody told me, take notes. Make a list of the things that you want to get across in the interview. And they were like, the interviewers don't show up without, written questions or whatever. Why should you show up without a list of the things? And so I did. I had a notebook, the binder with the plastic sleeve on the front, and I had my bulleted list of all the things that I wanted to stress in my interview. And I got the job, so it evidently worked, but it was just stuff that I wanted to make sure was covered.
The one thing I wrote down on my little list here is don't talk too much. And the reason I say that is because usually we have a list of questions we're going to ask you, and they're the same questions we're going to ask everybody else. And I can't get to those list of questions if you're telling me detail for detail about how you did one project to the T.
Mm-hmm.
So again, try to keep it succinct and to the point of what the question was, because and if you answer too fast at the end, you'll have time probably to talk to us again about something that you want to highlight. So, and I've seen it where people just get nervous and they talk too much. So, so a lot of times, at least on the search committees I've been on, we have like an hour with each group. So we probably have 8 to 10 questions we're going to ask you. So I'd say keep it to 3 to 5 minutes per question, if that makes sense. And I would rehearse if I was you, because there's probably some questions that you're going to get. So I would rehearse. So that might be a way to deal with that challenge of trying to think about what you're going to say. Think about it ahead of time so you know what you want to talk about.
I think Bill on what you just said, because you know, there was the thing, you're going to apply for a lot of jobs and you're not going to get them all. But don't look at those as bad opportunities. Those are opportunities to practice. It is an opportunity to sit in the room and to articulate yourself. And while you may not have gotten the job, you will have gotten an opportunity to go through that process. I think the more you do that, I think there is some sort of practice that comes along with doing this. So yeah, I think there is something to being able to have, here's my 2 minute.
Yeah, every interview I've had, I've learned something from. There have been some I've blown and not done great at all, but I have taken something from that. I'm wondering, do you mind, can we do introductions?
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
that
Sure,
would
I
be-
didn't even think about
would,
that.
like, help kind of with our backgrounds. Is that
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to introduce myself. My name's Amanda McConnell. I work at the Lawrence Public Library. I started out as a children's librarian, paraprofessional, so I love the public library and kind of all the frontline stuff with that. I went to grad school at MU and graduated in 2003. And then I took a drastically different turn and I was a medical reference librarian for about 5 years. So I've done the all-day interviews and hired a lot of graduate assistants and all that. And I went back to my first love, the public library, and I was the circulation coordinator starting out. So I hired a lot of desk assistants and shelving assistants and all that. And now I'm the public services manager, so I'll sit in on some of those interviews and do a lot more for the coordinators and stuff like that. So I've got a little bit of experience in different areas, but yeah, I love what I do, and I love the library. And whether it's a shelving position or whatever, I'm looking for someone else who loves the library and who understands the mission of the library and what we do, and is going to be a good representative of our library.
I'm Michael Swing. I'm currently with the State Historical Society of Missouri, where I serve as the Senior Research Specialist / Historian. We're a small staff, so I am actually jack of all trades. It's actually what I do. It just didn't fit on the business card. I've been there for a year. I was previously 2 years. I served 2 years as collection librarian for Black Archives of Mid-America in Kansas City. And you know, I got into libraries was also sort of a big switch. I had sort of an academic background. I have a PhD from the University of Kansas. I'm interested in modern social theory. I realized I would make a horrible academic though I was working for the academic, and I realized I could take the skills and things I was interested in and apply them elsewhere. That's how I ended up in libraries, and primarily, ultimately, what ended up being archives. So that's my background.
I'm Carrie Seaman, high school librarian at Blue Valley North High School in Overland Park, graduated from SLIM in 2003. Full disclosure, I don't hire or interview people, although about 6 years ago, my library had an open position. We have 2 librarians at the high school, and the principals are like, we don't really know what to ask. Can you? So I basically did the interview and created all the questions and things like that. I also contacted both the library coordinator in my district and the neighboring district to find out what kind of things they were seeing in interviews and what they looked for. So hopefully I can give you some insight on that, not from a first-hand, but maybe second-hand perspective.
My name is Arden Terrace. I'm the head of systems and technical services here at William L. White Library. I've been here for 13 years now. And I started as a microcomputer tech, taking care of all the technology in the library and kind of worked my way up. So now I'm faculty. I've been on at least one search committee every year since I've been here probably. I've been on the president's search committee for Boyer State. I've been on the HR director search committee. I probably sat on 3 or 4 librarian search committees. And then I just finished with the director of diversity and inclusion search committee. So I'm kind of a search committee type of person. I think that means I'm fair. I feel like I'm a pretty fair person when it comes to that. So that's me.
I'm Jill Cook. I am just finishing up my first year in SLIM. MLS program. I'm from Emporia, or live here now, I guess. I work over in Kramer Hall in the Small Business Development Center, so I would like to stay in the Emporia area. But we'll see what the future holds. So, okay, back to this. I guess we've already covered this, but what types or what kind of research should be done on the organization before applying or before your interview? Anything different?
When I look, I do look at the website, especially what you're interested in. I do systems, so I look at your catalog, I'll look at your discovery layer, I'll look at how it works, I'll look at your research guides, I'll look for the area that I want to be liaison with to see what they're doing, and I see if there's an area where I can impact them right away. And then I bring that up, saying, hey, your OPAC's 3 versions behind, so if I can, I'll get you up to speed. Or your research guides could be a little better. This is one of mine, and hopefully it's better than what they have. And if I need to, I'll build it before I go and say, here's what I can bring to the table. So, yeah, I think that research is very important. And in some of the recent searches I've been on, the people, even if it's a phone interview, when they actually come to campus, they'll know who you are because they'll be searching. A lot of universities have picture directories. So when they come, they're like, hey, and they know your name already and they know what department you're in. So that's, to me, again, that's how much they're putting into this effort. So anything you can do along that lines. I wouldn't take it too far because you don't know how things are being, but you know, there's a lot of basic stuff I think you can really get involved in. So I would encourage that as much as you can.
I would agree with that entirely. So I think at the end of all the interviews that I've been a part of, there's always this thing, do you have any questions? Come with questions. And don't let them be, tell me about the benefits. But you want to ask informed questions in such a way that help tease out. Again, it's another opportunity. They didn't ask the questions you wanted them to ask. You can use that opportunity to engage in conversation on things you didn't get to talk about. So being informed enough that you are able to enter into the conversation and place yourself into the institution or to help them visualize where you fit in the institution, I think is super important.
But don't ask questions just to ask questions.
yes,
ask
very
what you
so.
really want to know.
Yeah.
Because based on what questions you ask, I know how much research you've done,
Right.
how much you care, how little you know about our institution or our community. So it can kind of go both ways for you there with that. So,
Yeah.
but, you know, depending on the job, awareness of some of the programs we've done or tried or things we're doing, I mean, it shows, it matters.
One thing I wrote down here was those questions. Some really good questions that I like that I've heard are, why do staff like to work here? You know, and just some of those, because I really feel like it's got to be the right place for you, and you have to be the right person for that place. So trying to figure out that, because on the search committees I've been in, I feel like they're like 50-50. We're going to hire somebody that's going to be here for a while, or 50% of the time they're not going to be here for very long. So it's trying to make the right fit. Not saying that they're not professional, but it wasn't the right place for this individual at this time. So asking those questions, what do you like about this community? All those types of things. What do you do? Any of that type of stuff, I feel like can give you a little insight into where you're going, and do the people get along? You know, if you go into a situation that's very stressful, I'd like to know that going in. How do you like the boss? You know, if you're in a situation, a lot of times in an academic setting, you'll meet with the faculty, then you might meet with the staff, you meet with them together. A lot of times the boss is there, so you can ask those types of questions. Or, you know, what do you not like about working here? You know, that type of thing too. So you really, hopefully they're honest with you. And I try to do that. So you know what's going on.
What will be my biggest challenge? Or what concerns do you have that I might be able to address right now? Anything like that.
I've noticed a lot of the positions, especially in the tight economic times, we're reevaluating those positions, maybe reassigning duties. So you might ask, what do you see as primary duties, or what would you like to see this person accomplish? Because they might be the virtual learning librarian, but what exactly do you want them to accomplish in that role? And kind of getting some feedback from the faculty and staff about that, or even the dean, same difference. So if you ask just real insightful questions, hopefully.
Okay. Faux pause. That's one thing. I feel like this is best.
Tapping a pencil or pen. If you bring a pencil or interview to the interview, do not tap it nervously. That's I
Or shake your leg.
Oh, yeah, don't shake your legs. That's like, bring water. Hopefully they will provide water, but if not, bring like a bottle of water or something. Your mouth gets dry. I would keep talking for a while and you're nervous. Good.
Oh, I have a lot. And I got these from, like I said, the library coordinator in my district and the neighboring district. Don't talk too long. They were asked, tell us a little bit about yourself, and they talked for 15 minutes. Librarians, especially school librarians, need to read, and you will be asked, what have you read lately? What's the last great book you read? And they were amazed at how many times that trips people up, because they're like, what else?
I'd say, but building off that, when they ask you why you became a librarian, don't say it's because I like to read.
Exactly. Exactly.
I really love quiet places.
Yeah, that's how I feel either.
Well, you're not gonna fit in.
I'll think of some more.
Okay, I have a couple here. Some people don't make eye contact if you're talking to me, and it's usually, I feel like it's because they're uncomfortable, because they're not prepared, they haven't rehearsed. They get a bad question, and they might say, let me take a second to think about that. Hopefully you don't have to say that. I mean, it's okay if you really do. The other thing is being too honest. When I ask you about what your weaknesses are, if you tell me I'm not very organized and I'm trying to work on it, but I get a little spacey sometimes, that's not a good answer. You might say, oh, I know I would never mention that one specifically, but we all have weaknesses though, and that's being able to admit, be honest with yourself what you need to work on. Say, my research area needs to be a little bit stronger, so I'm still trying to figure out what my research agenda is or something of that nature. But that's something easy to say, hey, but I've recently found this topic that I'm extremely interested in, and this is what I've done on that. Hopefully you can be honest about that. But yeah, being a little too honest, some people, they're too honest.
To kind of build on what Art says, I advise people that are going into interviews not to say not to say never.
Mm-hmm.
There's a tendency to want to be transparent, and I want you to be transparent. I want you to say, I'm continuing to work on this area, but I don't want you to say, I'm really not very good at that, or I don't have any experience in that. That's where the preparation comes in.
I'd love to learn more.
I'd love to learn more. Spin it in a positive way so that you own that answer, so that it's not something they're going to come back on later and say, she didn't do that very well.
Let me mention, because you mentioned eye contact. Almost always, every interview I've been in, there's a group of people who are doing the interviewing. Do not talk just to one person. And because I've been young, so I'm sitting in on interviews, and they're talking to you, but they're not talking to me.
Yeah.
And so make sure maintain eye contact. Maintain eye contact with everyone in the room. You're including everyone in the conversation. That's another fun. Major feel fun.
Another one I thought of, as I said, school librarianship is all about collaboration, and you need to be able to have examples of that. I lost my train of thought. Hold on. Oh, they're going to ask you, how are you going to facilitate that? How are you going to encourage teachers to collaborate with you? And many times the answer is, I send some emails, or I do a newsletter, blah, So have some specifics, well, I'm going to go meet with, the PLCs, or I'm going to, grab a certain teacher who's doing a lesson and say, hey, I can help you with that. So have some specifics, not just, I'm going to send some emails and a newsletter.
I have heard some amazing things interviewing that I never thought I would come across. You know, most of the basics you're going to get. You know, even if you say the right thing about dressing nice, you're not going to wear a shirt cut down to here, anything. Be prepared for some of those questions. If you can't think of any fault you have, we're going to sit there until you think of something you can think of. I have 3 words that describe yourself. I've had people say opinionated, obnoxious, and loud. They did not get the job. So, how do you like to receive feedback? Oh, I like it if my boss first tells me something really nice and then tells me what they want to tell, and then they finish off with that really nice thing. That may be how you give feedback, but that's not what you necessarily expect your boss to do for you necessarily. Yeah. Most importantly, try to relax. I expect you to be nervous, and some level of nervousness is absolutely fine and okay. But you know, your attention to detail on that packet is what gets you to the interview. But once you're in the interview, a lot of it is your personality. There are things I can teach you, and there are things I can't. I cannot teach you body language. I cannot teach you personality. I cannot teach you that willingness to serve and to help people. I can teach you the ILS and some other things. So trying to feel as comfortable as possible and, you know, as a colleague in this situation will help you out as much.
Yeah, your passion needs to come through. I mean, we're all doing this because we love it. I mean, I have the best job ever, sorry to the rest of you, but you know, I mean, that's got to come through. It's got to come through that you want to do this.
Why does this make sense
Yeah.
in your career trajectory? Why are you applying for this job? Not because I think I'd be kind of good at it, but because this is really what I want to do.
And not because I need a job. I just need a job. We know you need a job, but why this one?
Okay, last question. How soon should you follow up after an interview? And I will say, how do you suggest following up to an interview?
I think in the 21st century, you're okay following up
Yeah.
with an email. I think, but that also depends upon the level of the job. If you have spent an entire day interviewing in an academic library, there better be a written note that you send that says, thank you very much for this great opportunity. I am just so pleased that I have this, blah, 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 blah. If you came in for an hour interview, I'm okay receiving just an email from you. Please, please, please send one. And don't wait 2 days to do it. You know, I think you can send, because we send emails right all the time. If I'm waiting 2 days for you to send me a thank you email, I'm not going to be pleased.
I don't care as much about the follow-up. I mean, I love the thank you, my pet peeve. All right. First week I was in the circulation coordinator job. We had an open position for full-time with benefits and another part-time. I had 160 applications for one position. The thing I hate the most, can you call me back right now and let me know the status of my application? My number is such and such. Please call me back. You don't realize what's going on the other side of that. And that is not the way to, follow up with you need to call me. Or please make sure she gets a hold of me. Or, what it is. So kind of be aware of the process and the timeline and let it take a little bit of time. I've gotten a lot more proactive about things since we have such big pools, for things. Whereas when I start making that, okay, these people are yes interviews, these people are definitely no, these people are maybe. As soon as I've got that down, I'm sending a note to the no's that you've not been selected for an interview for this time, but I'll let you know if that changes, kind of thing. I'm saying yes on these, and I'm letting these hang out for just a little while because there's still a possibility that we're going to widen the pool, etc. So
So I guess about that, because this has been one of my hugest, biggest dilemmas about sending in my resume. Do you call or email, or do you just wait for other people to contact you? Because it seems like almost every time. One time I called and they interviewed me that day. Every other time I've called, the people on the other end were not happy that I called.
you know, there may be some volume going on there where it's not convenient. One thing I like is, and I don't mind at all, is meeting you when you turn in your application. Like, oh, is so-and-so here that I could drop this off? Well, again, follow the instructions. If they want it via email, send it via email. If they don't care, drop it off, meet me then. Don't be insistent, because I may be in meetings or other things, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But that's a good point where I'd like, you know, name, face, great, that's fine with that. Sign, I'd rather receive an email than a phone call, but that's kind of maybe just my situation. Not bad to put it in, but really what I want you to put your effort in is the application itself. Let that shine, do your work there to get you to that next step there, and then we'll move on.
Because of the rules of our human resources department, if I call one person, I gotta call everybody. And if that means 30 people in the pool, that means I got 29 calls I would have to make if I responded to yours. They want to make sure that everyone receives equal treatment. And in order to do that, if I do one thing for one applicant, I am required by our policy at Washburn to do it for everybody.
There was something going on, and I figured something along those lines.
Yeah, and academic, the searches I've been on, they take a long time. You know, we might have a whole month or month and a half to receive applications, and then we say this is our screening date. And then that process takes anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, we got to get everybody together that's on the committee, and that's usually not easy to do. And spend a couple hours putting people through the rubric and trying to figure out what our top 10 are. Then we're going to do phone interviews, or might hit references first to kind of narrow down that to maybe like the top 5. So that could take 2 to 3 weeks. So I could see it could be a long time, and we don't. Once we get we've narrowed down to kind of maybe who our top 5 are. Usually what happens is we lose 2 of them. So that gives us an opportunity, if we haven't contacted you and said, well, you didn't make the short go or whatever, that we can pull a couple more people in. And we always have alternates that we're looking at too. And we do hit kind of a certain point where we've already decided who we're going to bring to campus. Probably at that point we could, but sometimes it's such a quick turn. It might be just 1 more week, so we might wait before we notify everybody. And I don't know that if we've notified everybody every time. So, because people are just asked to be on search committees, and certain people haven't chaired the search committee before, so they're not sure what the process is. So it's possible that you apply to a job where somebody's new or somebody's busy, and that wasn't something they got around to that they should have. And it should be a little more professional, but I think that does happen.
Well, remember that the person hiring is also often the person responsible for making sure all of that work gets done while they have a hole in their staff. So they have a lot on their plate in addition to whatever the hiring process is. So I can understand where they'd be a little edgy.
I do think the last question you should ask if you get a phone interview or a person is what's the timeline, so you kind of know. If they tell you 2 weeks, then you should be following up in 2 weeks. I would expect that you're still interested. That if I'm on the fence and you called and they didn't, then I'm probably going to get to you. So.
Can I ask a question? Because that you just reminded me. What's the difference? Is there a different protocol for phone interviews than for face-to-face interview, or things that you should be careful of for one but might be okay for the others? Is there any difference between the two?
I'm trying. I had a phone interview.
Yeah.
I mean, that was all there was. And
I say phone interviews, you're having to sell yourself without them seeing you.
it's a little more difficult.
So it's difficult, and you have to, I would say, be upbeat, be You know, everything has to come through your voice and your words, and that is hard.
And particularly because oftentimes it's the same experience. There's a group of people that are sitting around.
Yes,
a
oh,
conference,
Taking
and that problem of trying not to talk over people, trying to keep a conversation and things flowing, it's just more difficult. However, I mean, I think some of the same things apply. You know, you want to be able to sell yourself, you want to be able to answer questions succinctly, you want to be able to, but I think being more aware of what that environment, just as you're aware of the environment when you're sitting down with a group of people, be conscious of this is kind of probably the environment that we're dealing with. Are you in a quiet place? Are you going to be disturbed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
You
know,
can take
what
time
things
off.
can you turn
Yes.
off?
Don't
you
do
know?
it from your desk at work.
Right.
Yes.
So I mean, it's in some ways it's the exact same thing. It's being aware of your environment and what the circumstances are. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, if you do it at home, don't have your kids or your dog or your
Right.
cat running through there, and you know, make sure that you're in a place where you're by yourself.
And usually it's scheduled, we call it setup time. And so again, as long as you Google, do whatever you got to ask people what questions they've had and be prepared for those. And even you could even have it written down. You know, I don't want it to sound too scripted. That kind of throws me off a little bit. It's too scripted, but at the same time, I know that hopefully that you're prepared and you're like, oh yeah, and you have. To me, it's. I would think it'd be a lot less stressful because you're not in that room and you're not having 4 eyes on you. And, you know, you're kind of in your own place and you're prepared for this. You know, it's coming. So. One thing I do know is people have a cell phone, and I don't know if they're walking around or what they're doing, but I can hear them and I can't. So, you know, just doing it the best way you can, but to be aware of that, because you've probably been on the phone with somebody that's doing something and you can tell, or they're moving in the house and then they get good reception and they get bad reception. So, no, but I think it's really kind of the same thing.
I've done a couple of Skype interviews, and I would say to make sure that you get all your tech issues sorted out before you don't do it in an unfamiliar place. Yes, I learned this the hard way.
We had a guy on a Skype or a Zoom interview one time whose face was sideways.
Oh.
I mean, that was hard for me to deal with. I have to admit. I mean, I like to think of myself as being absolutely open, but my neck was sore.
Just turn the computer.
Okay. You know, Graves, I don't think it's been brought up that at least it's relevant, at least in the environment I've been in, right? The archives world is small and is even smaller sometimes in smaller communities. So all of us sort of know each other. As students, you know, early on in your experience, you were coming as practicum students, you're coming to do a project, you're coming to us. Think of these as long interviews. You are professionals now. You're the ones where you will be applying for the jobs that at some of these places. Keep that in mind as you're going through. You know, there's certainly, you want to have a level of familiarity with young people you're interning with, you know, but remember to keep it professional. Because we've had, you know, in the past where interns have applied for the jobs, and it's like, oh, no. Immediately, because I know what your work ethic is like. I know that you show up on time. I know what you wear. It's a long interview. So, I mean, we have these immediate interview opportunities, but keep in mind, like I said, you're professionals now, and you need to act like it.
In that regard, I had an intern one time ask me what he should expect at an interview. And I said, Bob, you're always being interviewed. And he just got quiet for a minute. But I mean, in some form of fashion, you can think about this as an interview in itself. How are you presenting yourself? I think we've had a very good conversation about some of the 3 Ps, I like to call them, about planning and preparation. Those are 1 P for me. But you need to do some due diligence in advance. But then, as Amanda said, I love what you do. That passion is crucial. I mean, it's authentic, it's genuine, it comes out. But I would say that other thing that we've all kind of been dancing around in some ways is your presence. And you have to be professional. You have to be ready at any moment to be that person that we know that we need you to be.
And again, we talked about practicums and volunteering. Getting in the door is the hardest step, but really, you know, if you are in a position that you can do that, have time to do that, you know, explore options like, you know, I'm really interested in this. I want to learn more about this. I have 2 hours a week for the next 10 weeks. You know, can you help me learn this? I mean, when I see someone who takes that initiative and is willing to do that, getting in the door and really showing me what you can do goes a long way when that job is open a year later or what have you. Again, a lot of people don't have, you know, the time, you know, financial situation to be able to do that, and that is, of course, understandable, and it's not a requirement by any means, but really showing what you can do and who you are is a great way to make yourself known.
And sometimes, of course, you're providing references to people, but you're also providing, you know, employment information and all of that. And, you know, we've had instances where we haven't had people work for us, but we know the people you've been working for. Because we go to conferences together, we meet together. We're calling them, go, so what was your experience like with so-and-so? You know, they may not have been listed as your reference, but we know who they are. And so you keep that in mind. Like I said, you were on the job hunt the entire time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you know somebody I know and trust, their
Right.
opinion's going to matter a lot more to me maybe than this person here you've listed as a reference.
And I had called a couple of references, and they, depending on what they say, you know, you can only say certain things. But if somebody says, I can confirm the dates when this person worked here. And so again, it's really coming back. I think Terry mentioned it, that if you have a reference, make sure they can talk about your work and work, but not just the director or they're in charge of something, but make sure they know who you are. And again, I think Sean touched on, we've all kind of touched on it, that I think the hardest position you could be is to be a graduate. You haven't had any library experience. I've seen students come out of the program like that. So again, volunteering at the public library, even if it's for a month or two, or university, anywhere you can volunteer to get some experience to really, you know, we have one of the best teacher preparation programs in the United States, and the key to that is that they actually do student teaching. So they've been in the classroom, they know what's expected of them. So if you haven't actually worked in the library, if you want me to hire you for a job, that's really tough for me to get past that. If you've worked even in any kind of shape or form of a library or archives, that's something. You know, that's customer service. That's something that they have. But yeah, so it's really important to do that. And if you haven't done that, you need to do that. So, or being a part of an organization and actually doing something in that organization, not just being on the roll, but how did you contribute?
And on the flip side, I want to be the best reference for you I can too. So giving me a heads up about, hey, I'm applying for this job, these are the qualifications, or this is what they're looking for, helps me out a lot to be able to talk about, you know, how you are prepared for that, etc. So I know it's hard if you're applying 30 places, but keeping in touch with your references and making sure they know what your objectives and what you're trying to do is really valuable as well.
I think Sean mentioned that earlier. You know, when we write reference letters, we're not doing a blanket reference letter that, okay, they're calling on this person, I'll just send it out. We're customizing it just like you are your cover letters for those jobs and for you as an individual.
Okay. Any other questions, especially related to interviews, do's and don'ts? Yes.
So when I was in high school, I worked for an insurance company, so it's not really relevant to my current resume, but the situation is. That company is no longer in business, and my direct supervisor has passed away. So like when you have to put down your job experience and they ask, can we contact this person, like to check up on you? And you write, and you check no, because they can't. Does that reflect poorly on you? Like,
Say no, passed away.
Well,
okay.
don't say no at all.
Yeah.
Don't say no to anything. Let them make the call and say, well, that person died.
Well, there's no longer company. I mean, they can't be notified.
Then you'll have to say something.
Give me a good
Because if
reason
they'd like to,
why.
they are welcome to pursue that. There's no reason why they shouldn't.
No reason why they shouldn't.
I would say very different, but in some ways similar situation. I worked out of country for 8 years, lived in Japan. Well, I could give you my references. I can tell you who I worked for, but you can't. They don't speak English, so you can't really call them for a reference unless you speak Japanese.
But
So
if you
do
give, those people are not on your list of references, but they are listed as, if that's relevant to your job experience, then you need to list that.
Yeah,
That's my determination. That's on me. If I decide that you're in that top 3 or 4, I want to get 2 or 3.
One,
Oh, yeah.
that's cool that you lived in Japan for 8 years. I mean, that kind of
Yeah.
stands out to me.
Really.
Well, but I think, Sean, I think you brought that difference, right? You provide a list of references. These are people I think you should call who will vouch for my character and my work ethic.
Right.
And then there's just, this is how the application goes, right? You provide your place of employment. Can you contact so-and-so? Well, yes. Always,
Right,
yes.
because your permission is not the thing holding me up from contacting them. My inability to speak Japanese or to try and track them down.
Or there.
Yes.
Right, or the passenger.
Yes.
Is that the same if your supervisor at the time is no longer with the company anymore?
I honestly treat it the exact same way.
Yes.
This was my supervisor at the time. If you would like to contact this company, you are welcome to contact them.
Absolutely.
Sort of to the same point, I have a previous work experience where I was for 5 years. I don't think I will get a good reference from this, and it's not so much me, the director. The 10 years she was there went through 4 children's librarians and 4 circulation people. So how do I address this in references?
Well, again, I'll be real brief because I think probably other people have actual maybe different experience with this. I think it is the same thing. Yes, yeah, go call them, go check them if you need to. But at the same time, right, you have a cover letter that provides you an opportunity to talk about your experience. So you get to make an argument about what your time there was like as well. It's not just if they even decide to call that person, because they may not.
Frame it too positively.
Yes.
But in a dynamic situation that saw turnover at a rate of a pretty significant rate,
Okay.
I was able to do this in the time I was allowed to serve.
Exactly.
Of the 8 staff, I actually was there 5 years.
Yeah.
That, yes.
And like you said, we know people at the other places, and hopefully somebody, oh, she wasn't there. Because there's places that you're like, oh, you don't work there. So I think that goes both ways.
Okay.
We'll know you, and we'll know the people there too.
Yeah, but
Oh, I
if you
know they
say
went to
you
a rough
can't
go.
call or you can't talk it, something went down there.
That's the red flag, is when you say no.
And I can tell you, I've gotten calls because I've been in the state a long time from people that said, hey, we have this applicant here and you're not listed as a reference, but we know that they worked there with you. What is this person like? So they will do off-reference calls to check up on it.
If you have given your permission legally.
We have
yes.
a requirement at Washburn to check unlisted references. And we tell candidates, we will be searching for unlisted references.
Or let me also throw this out here. The other thing when we've gotten applicants is I go to a LinkedIn page. I go to see what's out there. Remember what you're putting out into the world.
Oh yeah, Facebook. People will search Facebook.
Because I want to know everything I can about you. And that is how we communicate and produce information about ourselves. So keep that in mind. What you're putting, what you're putting out there.
Manage your online profile.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, I just had a quick question about the whole checking no box, just because I always check no for my current employer, because if my boss finds out that I am job searching, I've seen what she has done to other people when they have job searched, and she doesn't fire them, but she makes their life so miserable that you wish that you would just quit.
I understand about checking no on a current employer.
I've done that.
I don't think that's uncommon for people to check no on their current employer.
I mean, I'm going to understand that more. Or,
I know one thing I did is I think I put yes, but next to it, I put please notify me first.
yeah, or after interview, or, you
Right.
know, something that,
Could you maybe put, please contact HR rather than, I guess, supervisor? I mean,
Generally, if you're asked to put down a name, I mean, I think that provides you an opportunity to say, you know, this is the person you want to talk to.
I mean, in my case, I was confident that my boss would give me a good reference, but I felt like he might take it personally if I was job searching and it wasn't anything against him. So that's why I was like, please contact me first so I can explain it in my own way. So.
yeah.
I list one of my coworkers and my references. I just don't.
I'm going to understand more, but I also will probably want to talk to them before that final.
We're required to. I can wait until after everything's said and done, but I am required by our policy at Washburn to contact the current employer, whatever that means. But at that point, I will have had an opportunity to talk with you, and you will have had an opportunity to say, this is an untenable situation.
I've got one more kind of faux pas, whatever. A lot of my, attention to detail is important in that application. And I know it is no fun to fill out those pages and pages of applications. But if you just put C resume, if you were too lazy to fill out that application, it doesn't speak well when I'm looking for someone who attention to detail, and that is just your chance to sell yourself. Yeah. And again, I know it's no fun.
How do you feel about cutting and pasting? Like if the resume wording exactly matches what I put on my application, does that bother you at all?
As long as it's not necessarily. I mean, if what you have is solid, it's going to be solid in both places. It depends. It's just a piece of the puzzle. So.
Okay. I guess we're done. Thank you. Thank you. And our lunch is not arrived yet, so we have a 10-minute break on the schedule while I figure that out. And then we'll have lunch.